Hey everyone, we're going to go over my favorite legatos exercise in this video. This is going to be an 8th note to triplet 4-2-1, just playing straight 8s on one hand and then switching to 8th note triplets. So let's play it first and then we'll talk about it. This is at 110. Okay, so I love this exercise for two main reasons, and they're both kind of the same reason. But one, just practicing switching rhythms is really good for you, understanding what the difference is between the first two notes in each rhythm, and just getting more practice going back and forth, counting different things. It's really good for you. And two, because we're playing different rhythms, we're kind of having a little bit of a focus shift in our technique at the different speeds. So let's go over that. So at this speed, when we play our straight 8th notes, let's do this at 12. It's very comfortable speed and height to start warming up. And we're gonna think about this primarily from our wrist, leaving everything relaxed and as connected as possible without clamping down on your sticks. But also at this height, like we've talked about in another video, I would say it's okay to have a little tiny bit of a space cushion in here and here. So that's our 8th note approach. And then our 8th note triplet approach, these are a good bit faster, so just doing a quick time check. So because these are faster, I like to do this exercise in a 12 height range for the straight 8s, and then closer to 9, maybe a little bit bigger, but just play a little bit lower is the point for your 8th note triplets. And the more important thing than our height shift is our focus in going from all wrist and our straight 8s to let's do mostly wrist, and then let's actively start to use our front fulcrum or our finger fulcrum. So check out the wrist versus wrist and finger. In the left hand, we're gonna have all wrist, everything's gonna be connected. We're gonna turn as much as we can. And then finger, we're just gonna drop these a tiny bit just to allow a little bit more room for the stick to bounce. So that focus or emphasis on technique shift is really something that I love about this exercise. And with 4-2-1s, the first time you do it, you're only making that shift one time. You're going from 8s to triplets. There's only one change there. So you only have to change what you're doing one time. Then when we get to the 2 section, we have 3 changes. If you're starting with the 8th note, you switch to triplets is the first switch back to 8s, and then back to triplets again. So we've got those 3 different active shifts we have to make. And then in the 1 section, we'll have 7. If we're starting with the 8th notes, then we'll switch. We're playing 8 counts. Everything changes. Each count changes. So that's what I really love about this, is it focuses on, cool, one type of 8th note, moving our wrist. All right, now we're using a combination of our front or smallest 2 fulcrums together. And then we're gonna go from just making that shift once to starting to make that shift more frequently as the exercise goes on. So let's talk about the length of our stick. And what I mean by that is something to note here when we're playing these 2 different rhythms at or 2 different speeds and 2 different heights is at the 1 speed, if we just look at our right hand, 8th notes, if we're gonna play that primarily from our wrist, you can imagine that that's how long the stick is. This is gonna be the center of the circle, and your bead is gonna make the circumference of a circle. So that's the length, okay? Now, if we were to switch from 12 there, and at the same speed, just move our wrist less and do, let's say, 9 inches of that same circumference, our bead would be going along the same path. So I would call that the same length of a stick. Versus when we switch to a speed where we're going to now use our front fulcrum, imagine back to our wrist, this is how big the first circle is. Now, if this becomes the center of your circle, you're now working with a shorter radius. So I like to call that a short stick. So for instance, if you watch, I'll try to do this sideways. This is from wrist. Okay, this is how big that circle is. But then if we go from our finger fulcrum, that's how big that circle is. Okay, so wrist and finger. So in our left hand, the way this works is, if you can imagine this being your fulcrum where your thumb pinches the stick, when we play those big slow eighth notes and we use some of our arm fulcrum, if you can imagine this being the center of your circle, that actually moves away from the drum and comes back at about a 45-degree angle. Try to stand, so there we go. So that would be the long stick, the bigger stick, or the bigger circle. And then the difference would be when we play faster, that same point that we were just thinking about just stays more in place. So I said all that to say about the long and short stick. Don't get frustrated if when you switch, it seems less powerful or if it seems weaker. You're just playing a smaller circle, so it is gonna be less powerful, but that's okay. That's the trade we're making for speed. All right, make sure you guys are practicing this one with a metronome. Always practice with a metronome, but especially as we are starting to play more and more exercises that switch between rhythms, it's imperative. It would be pointless to practice switching between two rhythms without a metronome. All right, let me know if there's anything in particular you guys would like me to go over. If you have any questions in general about drumline or auditioning or technique, feel free to shoot me an email. And if you want to hop over to the website, timwoodtheory.com, I'll have all these exercises organized into categories. So if you really just want to hit a double beat or a rolls exercise, something like that, they will be in their separate sections. And I'll have PDFs to these soon. I'll upload them as quickly as I can. All right, hope that helps. Have fun, good luck. See you next time.